We come to spirituality for many reasons, but I think the core reason we come here is to make our lives better, to make our lives sweeter, to make the, road of our journey just like a little bit smoother. I think that's why we come here. And, when I ask newcomers, what did you Google when they say they found us from a Google search? They'll say metaphysical teaching or spirituality or meditation or whatever, and our name popped up. What I don't ask is, what made you start Googling in the first place? That's what I want to really know. Because I know from being around centers for the last 20 years that people start Googling and looking when they know they feel alone and they want a community or a place to go to see and to meet people who walk a walk that they want to walk. And yeah, they want the lessons and they want the opportunity to learn. Yeah, but you can get all kinds of truthful teaching, metaphysical teaching, lessons, videos, speakers, workshops, all of that virtually. What you cannot get virtually is what we have right here in this room, which is this energetic feeling, the personal encouragement we get from each other, those hugs and handshakes and the conversation over the coffee and all the little elements of a community that make us feel like we're where we belong. A high vibration of love that permeates us when we come in the door. And we seek those things because we're social creatures. We are social creatures, and being in social support where we grow spiritually is like so powerful. And, we're all going to have circumstances in our lives that we want to consider from a spiritual or a higher perspective. Am I right? That's what we're here for this morning. And I purposely use the word circumstances. The word circumstance has a French meaning and a Latin origin. And what it literally means is that which stands around us. So the question is, what stands around you and how did it get there? Right? It's kind of a mystery when you think about how the circumstances of your life started standing around you and how they actually got there. I get this vision of the old English stone formation, Stonehenge, right? How did those stones get into that circle? There are a lot of theories, but it remains a mystery. So I want you to imagine yourself standing in the middle of Stonehenge. Everybody knows what Stonehenge is. I should have pulled a picture of it up there. But you're standing in the middle of Stonehenge. What are the rocks? What are the stones that surround your life? The stones that seem to block your way, to impede your progress. The stones that seem to almost form a wall in front of you. And if those stones could speak to you, what would they say? I actually think that we hear them speaking on two different levels. If we're listening with our human ears or our egoic ears, here's what they're going to say. They're going to say things like, "You're powerless to change me," or "It's all your fault that I'm here anyway. I'm part of your family legacy. Just get used to it. It's just how things are going to be. Don't even try to get around me. I'm way too big." Can you hear those kind of words coming out of the circumstances of your life? Those conversations with the stones that block your life? But as we connect with the power of our souls, what we're referring to in class right now, the magic of our souls, those stones have a different message. And I want to explore those two messages and see if we can figure out how to face the stone obstacles and get beyond them. Okay, so often when we're considering one of the obstacles in our life, what do? We talk to other people about them, right? We consult with others. We talk to our friends and our family, and we discuss possible steps to get around the stones, or at least find some commiseration, because we tend to hang out with people who get our stones. Like they have the same kind of stones, right? How hard and big these stones are, right? And we do that because we often want to surround ourselves with people who let us stay in our stones, right? Stay behind them. We find people who can easily relate to the obstacles that we have. And guess what else we do? We read books about the stones and how to navigate the stones. And We gather people around us. And what are we trying to do? We're looking for the opinion of the majority, aren't we? We're looking for someone else to agree. This stone is huge. But is that spiritually the truth or the best strategy? I don't know. Ernest Holmes says this. 1, alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. So are you going to get the majority of the opinion of people around you, or are you going to go within and get the majority of spirit? And this statement points us in a very powerful direction. It points us within. So instead of polling all the people around us about the circumstances we face and taking the majority opinion, if spirit stands with you, that is a complete majority. And guess what? Spirit only knows the highest truth. So until you're ready to stand in the truth majority, then it's best to shop for people, because Spirit's only going to stand with you in the highest truth. And this is the same invitation that Jesus gave when he told us to go into the closet, into secret, and commune with the Father. And it's what we're learning in class right now too. Go within. The importance of time alone in the quiet with our soul, with our highest self, the power that lives within us. Go within. And when the stones speak to us of our limitation, of their solidity and our frailty, of their power and our weakness, the spiritual invitation is to go alone into the consciousness with the infinite. And when we do that, we turn a spiritual ear to listen to the stones. We let our souls listen. And when we go into the quiet, the stones whisper a completely different message. The stones then, or those obstacles, reveal to us their lessons, and they call us into learning. They're showing us ways to be stronger, boundaries that we haven't yet built in our lives, things that need to change. We've got to go inside and listen to our souls and let them listen to the obstacles around us. Because there in the silence with Spirit, that's where we find our true strength. A strength far greater than the stones of circumstances. Because in that quiet time with Spirit, we can remember the truth that anything and everything on the physical level of form is temporary. Nothing on earth is eternal. Nothing. Energy is constantly changing from one form to another, completely abandoning what it used to be and becoming something else. So that means no circumstances, no set of circumstances, no stone of circumstance is eternal. What is eternal? What is eternal is spiritual truth. Love is eternal. Peace is eternal. Joy is eternal. Everything else, everything that opposes those things, those qualities of God, anything that opposes that is temporary because it is form. Form, thoughts, beliefs. And if we can return to identify knowing ourselves as spirit and its qualities, knowing that those parts of ourselves are eternal and the stones are not, they should inspire us to rise up, not get caught in the wall of circumstances and conditions, and to anchor our minds in the absolute, the real infinite, God itself. So what are the temporary circumstances or the things standing around you, and where did they come from? What is standing around us is the combination of our thinking and the collective unconsciousness of the human race, of everyone else. What is standing around us is the result, usually, of a very long string of choices and beliefs about ourselves and beliefs about the world around us that have solidified into your circumstances. What is standing in our way are things we have agreed to believe in and participate in. Take a deep breath. More powerful than all of that is the infinite, standing within us and all around, below, around, beneath all the circumstances is God, calling us to see it through the walls Instead of fighting with the stones or accepting the stones as just the way it is, we go within and solidify our majority with all that is. Because here's the thing about form. With every form that comes along, there's going to be a group of people that are happy with that form, and there's going to be a group of people that are unhappy with the form. Every form is judged as good or bad, positive or negative, helpful or unhelpful. Think about it. Every law that is passed, there's a whole group of people going, yay! And there's a whole bunch of people going, that is not the way it should be. And then there's a whole group of people that really don't care, right? To form an opinion. Every person we meet, we decide, is this a person that's for me or not for me? We like them, we don't like them. Form. It's all form. We decide whether we pull things closer in our life and make them part of our circumstances or we don't. We either engage it with our energy or we don't. And when we engage our energy in a thing, it becomes part of our personal circumstances. We choose it and we identify it with it. Even if that choosing is having a negative opinion about something, it's still we're putting our energy into it. So now we're standing in our lives with a circle of circumstance stones around us. And quite frankly, most of us have probably tried everything we know how to do to get past them, but they still stand. And we all come to a point when our ego and our intellect finally has to admit, I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to fix this. As Dr. Michael Beckwith says, he's from Agape in Los Angeles, he says, a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. When the human finally gives up, the soul's like, yes! Because when we finally banged our head against the wall of the stone of our lives long enough, we have that opportunity to turn within to what is greater than we are. But it's not to get the infinite power to do things the way we want them to do them. We want it done. No. It's to let go of my way and look at the highest perspective. And what word is required for that? Surrender. Again, he chose a perfect song. Surrender is required for true transformation to occur. So I want to talk about the difference between a transition in something and a transformation of something. So there's this unity minister named Jane Simmons, and she shares this idea between a transition and a transformation, because we all have something in our lives that we want to change. So she uses this analogy. She's like, you're swimming in the ocean, which we can all relate to since the beach is right down the road. Imagine yourself swimming in the ocean and a riptide comes along and it overpowers you. And it starts pulling you out to sea and you battle against it, right? You start swimming against it and you make a little bit of progress. And then a couple of strong swimmers come along and they help you and they guide you. And after a long struggle of swimming beside other strong swimmers, you finally get back to shore. That's a transition. A long, slow process to make things better. A transition. Transformation is that you suddenly wake up realizing you were in your bed dreaming, you're completely dry, and you were never in any real danger. That's transformation. We're all pretty familiar with the path of changing something in our lives as a transition. We find those other strong swimmers, to help us with our stone of our life. Those strong swimmers that have already broken free from whatever we're struggling with or found healing. And we let those strong swimmers guide us to a place of safety over a long period of time usually. That's a transition. And as you face the stones standing around you, you can go on the transition path. You can certainly start working on transition out of the circumstances. But Spirit invites us into the possibility of a transformation. Transformation does not come through struggle and effort and all of that. That's not how transformation occurs. Transformation comes from connecting with the infinite, but often unconscious truth of our being. Transition, the strong swimmer way, can improve our circumstances. Absolutely. Transformation radically alters it at the core. Transformation is what we've been talking about all summer, a shift in identity. Transformation is the magic of our soul. Patrick Carbula refers to it as the alchemy of the soul, or the ability to take a stone in our life and turn it into a golden lesson that has been put there to teach us. And we invite transformation. We invite this alchemy by being still and asking and listening. We invite this transformation in the practice of meditation. We invite this transformation by imagining taking our stone and placing it on an altar of God and saying, I've done all I know how to do. This is now yours. We've got to turn alone to the infinite. Alone means without our agenda, without our plans, without our conditional sense of right and wrong, without our idea of how it should turn out in our personal egoic way, and seek the kingdom of the one. Right? That's what that alone means. We are alone in meditation. We can say, would I rather be right about my old thoughts and how the stones got here? My ideas of limitation, my beliefs and all that. Would I rather be right about that? Or would I rather surrender to a greater way? When our souls listen to the stones, it's a very different message than when our ego was listening to the stones. Because it's our fear listening. Over the years that I've really come to understand that there are some things that cement stones in place. They are blame and shame. Let me talk about that for just a minute. So often the stones that stand around us that block our way, if you think about them, they're often the result of a hard experience that we've had, right? A divorce, maybe you lost a job or a financial hardship or a diagnosis, an addiction, whatever, a devastating, confusing experience in our lives. And when we go through those types of very common life experiences, raise your hand if you haven't had any of those. Single hand, all of you had some of that stuff. They become stones in our way if we can't get beyond blame and shame. I think of the difference between blame and shame is whether or not you place the responsibility of that hard experience on yourself or on someone or something else. Okay, blame is when we put the fault on our ex or the government or the economy or the abuser or a mistake someone made. We're blaming. Blame turns into a cement of anger, resentment, and hostility. It's like super glue. It's going to keep that circumstance right there on your path. Shame is similar, but in shame we turn on ourselves. It's my fault that things fell apart. I lost the house. I got fired. That someone was injured or died. That's my fault. My life took a huge negative turn and I'm ashamed of that. Shame turns into a cement of self-loathing and unworthiness. The stone's going to sit there. And we all know the mental constructs of blame and shame. But both of them prevent transformation or even transition from happening. And if you find yourself held in place by either of them, the call is to lay the stones on the altar of your soul, on the altar of spirit. Because when we lay the stones on the altar of spirit, our souls call us into two things: gratitude and forgiveness. Talk about them all the time. Gratitude that we survived whatever happened. Gratitude that it was an opportunity to find your strength. The gifts that were revealed through the experience, the wisdom gained. And forgiveness flows to ourselves that we were human. Forgiveness flows to everybody else. They were human too. Forgiveness for any unexpected outcomes, for blind spots, for ignorance. Gratitude and forgiveness are part of the transformational journey every single time. So I want to tell you a story about one of the younger clients that I work with who did some spiritual coaching with me. I'm going to call her Samantha. Samantha went off to college in the fall of 2019. Eager freshman energy, eager to get out of the high school rut and all the limitations that we all feel in high school. I'm going to have a new start. I'm going to go off for my freshman year. And she was full of hope. 7 months in to her freshman year, everything shut down in the pandemic. Everything. And Samantha found herself in her college room alone, isolated, And she bravely tried to continue her education like every other college kid did at that time. You know, she was moving into virtual platforms and sitting alone in her room trying to read college textbooks by herself. But Samantha found herself unable to focus. She couldn't focus on her schoolwork. And when she got failing grades for the first time, she fell into a great depression and confusion. She moved home and she failed a whole nother set of classes. And she quit altogether, and her life began getting smaller and smaller and smaller and more isolated. And when I started working with her, she was feeling deep shame about herself. There's something wrong with me. Other people are making it. Other people are figuring it out. Other people still kept their friends. Something happened to me. I feel so ashamed. There's something wrong with me. And then she started blaming everyone else too. The college administration didn't plan for this. They didn't do everything right. They were learning. Where's Ruth? There was a lot of learning going on of how to do online everything, right? And her circumstances stood around her, and she felt utterly hopeless to find a path forward. And I'm not going to call her path out of that place a transformation altogether. I think it was a lot of transition too. But over the time, she began to forgive herself for collapsing under the weight of the pandemic. And she found gratitude for the opportunities that were waiting for her to just claim them once she could get out of the muck, right? Gratitude for her support system. And she found a new power to start again. And I will say now she's on track to graduate 1 year behind her peers, which she's forgiven herself for. But she's beginning to taste success again. She allowed her soul to move that stone and say what happened in 2020 does not define her life. She's not broken. She's not limited in that way. So what is the stone in your life that's calling you into transition or even possibly transformation? It could be a large stone like Stonehenge. Maybe it's like a tiny kidney stone. It's just pain and lots of pain and frustration, right? No matter what the size of the obstacle stone is, it has a message for you. And heck, maybe you have both major stones and little kidney stones too. The messages are the same, no matter what the size of the stone. Your ego is going to hear the message of failure and unworthiness, and your soul hears the calling for transition, freedom, and love and transformation. It longs for that because your soul wants to live. And the most wonderful thing that happens when we turn our stones of any size over to spirit is that they transform from a wall to an altar where we return over and over again and again to remember our truth. The truth is that no stone of form or circumstance is more powerful than God. No form can withstand the dissolving power of gratitude and forgiveness coming from a soul that knows that it is one with the source of all love, peace, and joy. There is nothing more powerful than a soul that is alive. Will you join me in prayer? Here is what I know this morning. What I know this morning is that stones are not permanent. That the journey of our life is taking our soul on a journey to remember the God that they are. The God being that lives inside each one of us is always, always, always connected to the power that put it there in the first place. And that power has the ability to transform and transition out of any circumstance of life. And so what I know for each person hearing this message and this prayer is that whatever that stone is, that they are guided to that quiet place inside to connect with the power that is always theirs, always. I am so grateful for this opportunity to speak this word and know that this is the truth for each and every person because it's the truth of the one power. And I affirm that, let it go, and so it is.